Should we get started? So I'm just going to kind of introduce the concept here, and I think everybody knows me pretty much. So 5 years ago I took a trip to Peru. I've been processing a fair amount of that stuff and just some general things about life. I think I decided to put together something that I'm calling a catalog of circumstance. And rather than just like read it, because I felt really awkward about that kind of, I asked 3 other people to read it for me so that I can feel awkward instead. And I'm going to talk when it comes to a block slide for just a minute each time to kind of break things up and give them a tiny reprieve. It's kind of an ongoing project, so some of the stuff might change. I might add to it. I guess it's kind of like a growing body of understanding that's come from reflection on circumstances and how I came to be here now. So, the music? Oh, okay, it's a music. Sorry, I got distracted. I was combining the kid toddling and the NASA sounds, and I was like, that is weird. NASA babies? And with that...
Luke, I'm sorry. Is there a window open? I feel kind of a draft, like a breeze. Do you hear that? That breeze?
Yeah. I do.
I'm just trying.
Are you feeling cold?
I feel air. Sorry.
Oh, sure. So the format's going to be, I'll advance the slide, and then they're going to read it once through in their heads, because they haven't seen them before, and then they're going to read them out loud. If you can see the words from where you are, you're welcome to read along, but it also should give you a little time to think about it. And then if you have questions later, you can catch me at either one of the black slides or at the end, and we can talk about whatever. So, forgot about the black slide. I've been fascinated with masks since I was a little kid, and more recently I've become interested in the idea of uniforms, and they sort of seem opposite but related, and these are kind of a collection of thoughts about those in that very wide span of time.
Exploring masks and the great outdoors. When I was maybe 14 or 15, I was thinking a lot about masks, how we wear them and why. I loved the open prairie. I craved deep, thoughtful conversation. Faced with this vastly expansive space, our problems and conversations seemed closer to the surface in the sandy prairie. We focused more on practical or immediate concerns than the theoretical possibilities of this or that. When I look outward from that place and breathe in the air I know I am home. I can smell the air in all its richness. I can feel the wild pollens bounce inside my lungs as the trees become my bones. Yet in this place, I didn't find the human-to-human shared understanding I craved. I felt as if everyone had masks, and I had mine too. At times, I certainly believed my thoughts and feelings were unwelcome here. Like the nature of my being challenged the stillness, and my existence sometimes felt heavy like a crime.
The deep need for understanding. For a lot of my childhood and my whole adulthood, I've wanted to be around people who want to be interested in me, in thinking possibility with me, those who are wanting to understand each other and our place in this broader existence. I want to see how the other in front of me sees the world. I've come to realize that much of this burden falls on the communicator, especially the early stage convincing. Someone has to want to understand you. They have to actively spend their time thinking about you, walking around in your imaginary shoes. I want for you to know me and understand me. I want to know and understand you. To reciprocate and be interesting, seek and share your understanding with me too. This is of special interest if we are sharing some reoccurring part of this journey together.
Embracing openness on the internet. In the year 2000, I turned 19. I'd already been using computers for half of my life and playing on the internet for a quarter of my life. By the time MySpace arrived, I had decided that privacy in the old sense was not compatible with the internet. If I published something, that would be public information. I would be okay with that. If I went to a link and someone else found out, I'd be okay with that. I mentally traded the idea of privacy for transparency online. With this understanding, I felt a huge release. In a nutshell, don't record it if you don't intend to share it.
Choosing artifact over art. What is art? What am I doing? Am I an artist? These questions had been consuming my mind space for a while. I didn't like the idea of referring to myself as an artist, but was okay with others calling me an artist. The term artist feels like a credential to me, not the object itself. If I am only an artist when another person bestows this credential upon me, then what am I making? An artifact is simple to understand. It is a product of your effort and a tangible link to a memory. I make artifacts. You make them art with your words.
Life hacks for life. Somewhere between the design classes at Buena Vista University, TED Talks, and my discovery of lifehacker.com, I realized I could design any aspect of my life and work towards that end. I've never really loved the idea because it's so quick fix in nature, but when applied to long-term goals and visions, that's different. In 2018, I did a talk about the art of life hacking at the software company where I currently work, Don't Panic Labs.
Sharing secrets on my shirts. That fixation of designing my life took me first to my socks, then to my shirts. In 2009, I decided I should try a simple life design experiment. I should wear yellow socks each day, see how I felt and who noticed. Maybe I'd get power from the social situation dynamics if I crossed my legs and let my socks show. I loved it, and I still wear only yellow socks today. In college, I started my first uniform, plain colored t-shirts, no logos, and jeans, maybe shorts too. After the socks experiments, I noticed that no one really noticed, but I did. I felt stronger, more self-directed. I started thinking about designing my own shirts, to sort of wear a repeating symbol of my creation. I wondered if others would notice at all. This year, I'll be printing my 5th shirt. I'll show you each and tell you a little more about them.
Art is for everyone. What does it mean to make art? Remember how we used to make up games? Art is play, a form of creative interaction. When we play together, we learn how to make rules as well as when and how to break them. Engaging others to participate in our games is what art is all about. Not every creative interaction solves a problem, but all problems, real and imaginary, are solved with creativity. Art helps us explore and understand each other through interaction. Art is for everyone.
Art is a product. Craft an objective, compose solution from a root idea to a shareable artifact. Invite others to interact with the prototype and consider how the object relates to the objective. Invite responses and iterate on your original concept to make your artifact more complete. Reinvent until you achieve the desired outcome. Stretch to test the boundaries of what is possible. Feel the tension that pulls reality and the imagination of children together. This is the space for change, a place for consumption of explosive thought carefully packaged. Art is a product. It is a tool for change.
Art is an experience. Greetings, explorer. Luke Armstrong's perspective filter are designed to temporarily alter how the wearer perceived reality. When you put them on, you'll step into a new but familiar environment. You'll focus on certain elements in your visual field and notice altered colors, fractured compositions, and even cellular material in your own eyes. Generally, they should be used with plenty of light. It works best for the wearer to think about this as a meditative process. To get the richest effect, wear these for a minimum of 5 minutes, but I've been able to wear them for hours at a time. The longer you wear them, the more immersive they become. Adding audio, especially using a cell phone with combined earbuds and microphone plus a real-time effects processor, adds a certain richness to the experience. Enjoy your adventure, Luke.
Space. Over time, I've been viewing many of the things I do as the contextualization and definition of space. From my personal exploration of technology, elastictime.me, changepaces.com, to more business-like projects like RunMine and Cali Commons, everything I make with purpose feels like art. By pulling on ideas threaded through time and representing these open spaces as art, I think we have the power to influence culture as it evolves. If we want to challenge the fundamental cultural assumptions that lock us into a predefined space, we must open the doors of perception to recontextualize our more intimate space. Emergent Complexities in Infinite Spaces seeks to clarify and share my experience of challenging cultural and personal assumptions in search of spiritual enlightenment. These 4 pieces are functional prototypes that can be built upon to allow other artists to participate in composing and presenting layered compositions.
Art is ritual. What does it mean to life the explorer's life? To seek the highest level of understanding you may attain. To create rituals that guide your future behaviors based on personal adventure and discoveries. I am a designer, maker of the highest forms of Fluxus artifact, Through this lens, I am an explorer of possibility, the author of my own understanding and rituals. I'll design mostly anything for a purpose I believe in: identity, interaction, experience, interface, organization, ritual. Whenever possible, I believe in soft landings. I often try to design for failing gracefully, creating movement in a helpful direction. What have I learned so far? Freedom to design my own rules for life, communication patterns and schedule. Balance seems attainable if we cooperate.
So those last 5 slides were the 5 shirts. They're also paired with words that went along with the shows, so they were not always related to directly the imagery of the shirts. If you're interested in the imagery on the shirts themselves, that is also a long and interesting story potentially. We can talk about it later. One of the things I've been thinking about, I don't know, at least since I was, before I left my home, we had a thing called Sandhills Time in Bassett where everybody showed up whenever they wanted to for stuff. And I guess for whatever reason that had me thinking about time differently since I was a kid. And I just started really thinking deeply about it, and I feel like so much pain and joy comes from our understanding of time, and so I guess these are some reflections on that.
Objectively personal reality. Is this world our own? Is it shared? Can it be both? It is both. We each are encapsulated in the only reality we will ever know. At this moment in time, we cannot share even one moment of this reality directly. We can, however, share different perspectives and aspects of the same moment if we are focused on the same elements. These shared observations are the basis for what we call truth or facts. The flip side of this is that these shared moments of our lives comprise far less of our time than we realize.
Growing the ability to change paces. In 2012, I was working as a freelancer who employed some of my friends as contractors. My life was getting pretty chaotic, and I was hacking life for every millisecond. I started to believe that it was really more about the way time feels, more than actually how much there is. So I gave up my Fitbit and most of my self-tracking devices and built a simple game to play that helped me practice changing my paces. You can play it at changingpaces.com.
Exploring elastic time. As my time continued to be attacked by outside forces, I became possessive of it. I was wanting to be able to design my own time and build rules around it. I thought, how could time be different? The universal and logically driven time-keeping of our recent past demanded global accuracy. But this type of timekeeping is relatively new, thanks to the internet and railroads. We don't really know that much about how it affects humans and our quality of life. I thought, how could time be different than it could have ever been before in history? What if we divided the day and the night into moments and made those movements flex based upon a GPS location, kind of like sun-based time? Your moment could be divided into any number you desire and be different than mine, and it would flex based upon the seasons and where we travel. Our logistical calendars could be mapped to drop appointments and reminders into this time system with a translator API. Learn about it and try it out at elastictime.me.
About an elastic schedule. Give me my time back. How would I want my day to feel week in and week out if I never got a break, or how can I ensure I get my breaks when I need them? How would you design your day, your week? What if we committed to creating healthy workspaces that allow companies to create redundancy for flexibility and to set reasonable expectations for daily communication, correspondence, setting meetings, and getting work done? What if we divided our days into flexible blocks and reserved them programmatically with missions for each period, including time for rest and rejuvenation? If we were honest, wouldn't we all want this?
Wanting for an elastic life. May failure be something semantically optional? Can we build in permissions and notification cushions to protect our experiences? Can we change direction easily, find new opportunity, and enrich each other continuously for lives of variety and shared value? How can you examine your life and move forward according to your own direction gracefully without harm to yourself and the other? How can you build an intentional, forgiving, and rewarding life? Designed for a life of change, of learning, and growing.
So, with all that kind of flowing there, the 5-year thing, it's all about my trip to Peru, and the trip to Peru is all about trying to find the last bits of the things that I needed to find, and all that is in the pursuit of finding a better version of myself for myself, thus transitioning to a higher self.
Struggle is often a precursor to growth. This knowledge helps us earn an appreciation for some of the darkest corners of our reality. The longing for belonging, the yearning for understanding, has created a motivational energy in my life that is more valuable than any underlying costs, no matter the temporary pain. Without fulfilling this need to search and understand, who would I be? At this midpoint in our struggle, I know that I appreciate the patient, genuine, permissive, and curious people who want to explore this reality, this struggle on the edge of wonder with me. With this as my continuous quest, I am generally at peace, happy with myself, and working to make my corner of the world a better place with what I am beginning to understand. I am willing for pain to teach me, but I no longer seek it out.
Place to grow ideas. At a small university, I found the opportunity to connect, explore, and grow. I became the outsider I had already felt like I was. I was far enough away from home to not have anyone to lean on directly. I met permissive and challenging people. I melted into puddles and reformed into a wobbly adult. It's difficult to explain the sensory overload, the struggles and the successes of this time period. It was bumpy but necessary. Art and design were my favorite places other than the company of friends and the avoidant chemical experiences that await a searching mind.
practice of noticing. I'm a good noticer, or at least I strive to be. It's a kind of practice, the practice of noticing and then following those noticings, like one tastes and appreciates a great meal with subtle trailing flavors. These flavors give us a taste of our curious self, open our eyes to wonder and possibility. With each noticing arises the opportunity to reflect, refine, and share the best of what we perceive in this world, to show others great curiosities and help them avoid great pain.
Thinking deeply about the past and future. When I think of now, I think of a disappearing moment. This moment is a continually imperceptible moment that becomes perceptible as it moves into the historical record-keeping systems of our minds. Because of that, we, our conscious self, is like a ship's captain. We are always operating on old information. We can only hope to control our immediate next step, but we can make predictions to alter our future course in terms of factors like intended direction and speed. When we focus on the past, we can mine it for objective and emotional information that can help us make better predictions about the best course of action. When we focus far into the future, we can greatly impact the course we choose to take.
Eating better for myself and others. My cholesterol was very high and my triglycerides were off the chart. My doctor wanted to shove pills down the problem, noting my family history. I didn't want to be on them forever, so I devised a new diet. My new default was to be vegetarian. Plus, I thought I would elevate the quality and flavors of my food, but I would allow myself to eat meat under certain conditions that could be adjusted as needed. I called them special occasions. These were my initial rule preferences. Don't eat meat unless it's a special occasion. You can define these special occasions. Whenever possible, you should eat what is presented to you as a guest. If someone gives you a dish with meat, you should accept and enjoy it. When you are traveling, you may eat meat because it can be difficult to find alternatives in unknown places. If you cook meat, get quality meat that was raised and processed with ethical standards you endorse.
Stretching and breathing. Breathing is automatic, but it can be designed. I was by nature a bit of a mouth breather and a snorer. I vaguely remember reading an article about the health benefits of focused breathing through your nose more often, and how breathing only through your mouth isn't good for you. It sent me on a journey that ultimately led me to a new focus on breath. This practice leads me closer to meditation, yoga, and even for the front steps of Buddhism. This practice is centering. I believe it to be critically important aspects of life and should be a focus of my intention. Stretching is cleared by the body, but it isn't automatic. When I was 18, I enjoyed lifting weights. It started me thinking about the body as a system. I was fascinated by how visualizing your muscles while lifting might lead to efficiencies. When I met my friend and yoga instructor Ryan, he showed me the other side of that coin. Stretching, specifically through yoga, helped me to lose weight and build a relationship of understanding with my muscular system that I hadn't known before. Through practice, I feel an understanding about opposing muscle forces and how to relieve tensions that lead to muscle pain by pulling my body to build awareness, tone, and control.
ideas and the thirds of life. In 2013, as I approached 33 and a third, I became fascinated with the idea of life being broken into phases. I liked the idea that a lifespan could be represented in phases roughly equated to 1/3 across a theoretical human lifespan of 100 years. These phases would have a focus like learning, doing, and sharing. These primary phases could also have a secondary and tertiary focus, like the learning phase, next transition at 33 and a third, next most important, doing and sharing. The doing phase, next transition at 66 and 2/3, next most important, sharing and learning. And sharing plus, next most important focuses, learning, doing. Learning. In order to be understood, one must learn how to speak and how to say what you mean. When we explore meaning in our lives and study effective communication, we can drive our efforts successfully forward. Doing. In order to be understood, one must send the communication. We must take action and do something for people to see us at all. To even be able to be heard, we must be known through our actions. Sharing. In order to be understood, one must share. The more accurately an understanding is represented, the higher chance it will be properly interpreted.
The epic trip is... Hey, Kevin. The epic trip is my trip to Peru, and these are all related to that.
At the beginning of a great transition. As my 33rd birthday approached, I began wanting to mark the transition to my next third of life. I thought maybe I should have a grand adventure to find something I've been missing. I decided that I should try to find my spiritual core, an emotional connection to, and understanding of my place in this universe. I left town in late July of 2014 with my friend Ryan to spend a month traveling through Peru. We would experience a whole new world. Our travels culminated high in the Andes Mountains, connecting with shamans and some fellow travelers and ceremonies that would bring us face to face with our subconscious.
Great fear and find comfort here. As I waited in the candlelight for my cup of potion, I could feel the fear rise up, but I also knew that I traveled a long distance, taken a winding path to arrive at this point. I would accept this medicine in exchange for the poison fingerprint I had carried with me. I had a growing sense of calmness before the Icaros began, before I blasted off. I gave whatever I had, every ounce of poison I could carry. I traded the DNA of our sicknesses so a remedy could be prepared, and in turn I would gain gradual enlightenment from this faraway place. I asked to feel connected to everything, and she said I must first find comfort here.
Disappointment. Today is your day to face the fear. Look at it right in the eyes. Welcome to the beach, a place for harvesting anxiety dressed as fish in my stomach. The fishermen were testing my limits, trying to eject this giant fish from my insides. But then a thought, what if it is a tiny fish? They will be so disappointed. Either way, you cannot give them the fish without being a disappointment. You are trapped by their expectations. Confidence wavers. Help me find my ground. When later I washed up at the riverbank, the guests are all leaving. No matter what I say, they don't stop, or maybe they can't understand me. The campfires are vanishing. These people are leaving you, and when you look up in the sky, you see nothing familiar. You have lost your way. You have been abandoned. You are alone.
great connection. Thanks to a day off and a smaller cup of medicine, I was able to sit in appreciation of the great connections that intertwine and connect our histories. Fathers and mothers, interest groups and communities, cities and governmental constructs. We are linked in a continuously emergent flow, like dominoes falling in a perpetual meta-dance across our staggered timelines. Pain, pleasure, and cultural information flow through these connections. This is the live wire of human history, moving together in time.
Great forgiveness. Today the demons of past generations came over for tea and forgiveness. My clear view of the connections between things made it easier to recognize that many of my most past painful memories were built with bricks of past trauma, held together with the scars of history's most regrettable gravities. I was very grateful for this transparency, so I thank the adversaries of my past for enduring their underlying pain. I also thank the shaman with gestures of gratitude in the darkness. He sang to me and blew smoke in my direction to clarify my vision. I could feel these connections through time.
LucLuke in The Great Circumstance. With this last cup of medicine, I would be given a name fitting my experience, something that would acknowledge my former self, my anxious self. Luke Armstrong was now on the outside, the old self consumed by his newly emerged form. As I walked up the stairs and out the water, I also became aware of the proper name for my most central understanding. The Great Circumstance describes everything that was and will be, the interactions between those pieces. It isn't an entity, so it doesn't have a form. The Great Circumstance is specifically and only a record of what was and is. You can be grateful for it or resentful for it, but this Great Circumstance just is. You cannot stop it. You can't understand how it unfolds by looking back through it, and sometimes change its direction before it arrives.
Is great circumstance. Great circumstance is a type of circumstance, like a meta or supersized version of regular circumstance. It involves factors beyond your perception, far beyond your personal control. It is a way to describe the larger pieces and the movement of an emergent history, a kind of self-defining growth pattern of things that make up now or the place that we find ourselves at any given moment, and everything that comes before that. It is not a person, nor is it a god. It is a concept, an understanding. Great circumstance has no ability to exert control. It cannot know anything. But great circumstance sometimes bumps into you and everyone you know. Sometimes these are fortunate, sometimes they are rotten, sometimes they are just odd. Blame great circumstance and dump your pain. Send thanks to it to feel gratefulness. Great circumstance is that which feels random, but is not quite enough. How might I be able to use it? You can use it to alleviate some of the pressures you feel about being in full control. This can help you feel better, knowing that you are only in control of your piece, and the bigger the circumstance, the harder it is to find simple or complete answers. You might find yourself appreciating more and requiring less perfection. How do I employ circumstance? I set my priorities by expecting its appearance.
The eye of our great circumstance. The great circumstance is the culmination of all circumstance until now. It is also the paths of that culmination, a history of interactions. It is not benevolent or omnipotent, it only is. We find ourselves in the eye of our great circumstance, like a floret in a tree springing from the structured interaction of its previous forms to take the resources it needs to continue along. It grows as a whole. Our impact, our relevancy, is plotted in great circumstances record, no matter if it appears in any other. It spreads through shared interactions. Through thorough inspection and introspection, we can see our past as the floret may see the tree in past states of growth. Likely only parts of it, by following pathways of experience. This is how we individually know our collective humanity and all of its history. This is everything that has ever been, as far as our species has ever known or been able to discover through experience. This is our experience of great circumstance.
How do I design circumstance? Explore life to find better possibility. Better is defined by you. In the best circumstances, this can create a virtuous cycle of perpetual win-win scenarios. Examining situations for alternative solutions is the only source of real non-incremental progress, both personally and when properly directed at whole groups of people. Noticing details and exploring the act. Imagination is internal exploration. Its linguistic source is the question, any question, all questions. Your mission is to ask yourself the best questions as they uncover the opportunity for remapping old assumptions. Test what you think will happen against what really happens. Identify patterns of false assumptions and try to remove the assumption or its motivational trigger. Project into the future, avoid traps where possible. Think 3 steps ahead. When people, avoid traps. When possible, avoid traps. Traps come in all shapes and sizes, but they share a commonality. There is no alternative way out. I try to avoid singular options or paths because they easily become traps. We often trap ourselves by not thinking ahead. That's why I like to know where I could go next. Your production.
Communication is power. Real power can't be bought. The message has to mean something. You are the sender. Art, action, and language make up the message. Your network carries your message. Your listeners care about your messages. Your supporters encourage you with their words. Your advocates get others to listen to your messages. Your subscribers form your base income. Your patrons support your production. Test your assumptions and the assumptions of others. To maximize the impact of my life, I like to test my assumptions across 2 lenses. I use critical thinking and feeling to judge my own progress. Lens 1, grow yourself. Enjoy life while striving to better understand it, explore it, and live it. Maximize the impact and experience of your life. Find ways to make your movement matter to you. Lens 2, share with others. Connect with others deeply and broadly. Much of the pleasure in life comes from intensely personal shared experiences with other individuals and small groups. This is the stuff that makes life feel like it's worth living. I alone get to define and judge this endeavor and how to define its eventual success.
Starting a catalog of circumstance. Premise. In order to change future events, I must investigate and understand my role in the outcome of past critical or important circumstances. Should I find an instance that seems out of sync with the more preferred outcome, I should try to find some way of testing another path forward. When I make great progress forward, I should make an artifact of that event. Photos, drawings, writings, video, audio, which serves as a recorded symbol. This symbol allows us to celebrate our personal victories and refresh our memories when they get fuzzy. They also let us look deeper, like a microscope, to see if there is more to find, more to examine in the same place of progress. Archiving these circumstances prove that we can change, that we can be a better version of ourselves, for ourselves. Even if it is slow progress, it is worth it to collect these rare and rewarding artifacts of life and personal growth. We need ways to measure these achievements. This starts with a record you can analyze. Write it all down. Go ahead and give yourself permission to talk with yourself across time using your favorite note-taking appliance. It's a more purposeful journal.
It's kind of the final part, probably the weakest part of my slide deck. This is like the practical side of everything, and I think the important part of it is that all of that other stuff is happening alongside of the practical stuff. So these slides and the future ones that I'll add to it have to do with the practical things that I make. Yeah.
Creates was my first attempt at a real company. Functionally, I operated as a freelance designer and web developer. Under the Creates brand, I built mock sales materials, letterhead, notepads, and business cards. I designed and coded custom websites. I also used Creates for running business experiments. Creates sold online logos, website template downloads, and service packages. We had the opportunity to do early experiments with Google AdWords and AdSense. We had both local clients, and we were able to meet new national clients thanks to our Google advertising.
RenMind. In August of 2010, I rebranded Creates and pivoted to build a software consulting business called RenMind. With RenMind, we specialized in websites and built custom web applications in the marketing and franchise arena. We built dozens of experimental products, from hosted email marketing to review management. We ran our non-traditional agency with both contractors and employees who could work from anywhere. We built our business around a 32-hour work week. Our flagship product, RenMind Network, was built to help business communities like cooperatives and franchises to market their independently owned business units cooperatively.
Cali Commons. In August of 2013, my partner Molly and I moved out of our art studio and office in the Benson neighborhood. We sold our home and bought a small commercial space in Midtown Omaha. This would be the new home of our experimentation, and we started immediately. Cali Commons became a shared working space and art gallery. We started holding events for other artists and their friends. We created swappable frames, moved walls, and tested membership models. Over the last few years, we've focused on building community through creative collaboration. One example is our Uncommon event series that asks two artists to individually create a small painting and then afterward cooperate on a large painting.
So, with that, that's the extent of it for right now. there are plenty of other things that I hope to add soon, and I would love to answer questions about anything if there's anything of interest. And yeah, thanks Molly, Bree, and Zach for being guinea pigs and not knowing what you're going to read and doing it anyways. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming.